guys, and welcome to another relaxing, humorous, fun episode of Movies Down Memory Lane. I'm Stephen Billings, and this is Andrew Cabral.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. So this is, I guess you could say, the episode 2 of our little soft reboot, relaunch,
Sure.
reimagining. Any
Yeah,
type of
reimagining. Yeah.
you want to get. Typically, we are a trio, not a duo. But one of our friends, Dan, is missing in action currently, so we will soldier on without him.
Yeah. We don't know why. We're still hoping he's gonna pop up at some point.
Right. So he may make an appearance, may not.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Stephen and I will escort you down our memory lane, or in this case, Stephen's memory lane, of a film that would be near and dear to his heart. Because here down Movies Down Memory Lane, we will be picking out movies that mean something to us on a personal level, whether it be sentimental reasons, nostalgic reasons, whatever the case may be, things that are near and dear to us, and we will be discussing them, and I guess kind of gauging how the other people on here will feel about the movie, and if their opinion changes by the end of us gushing about the movie that we love.
Yeah, because talking about stuff like this can be infectious.
Very much so.
And maybe the way one thinks about the film can open your eyes to something maybe you didn't understand, maybe when you've watched it before. So it can, yeah. I mean, that's what movie conversations are. That's what's it's like a thing that's missing, I think. And it's harder when you don't have friends around you that are as passionate about it as you are. So like, that's what is good about, of course, talking on the internet with people. Me and Andrew can do this. We don't live near each other. He lives 5 states up from me, whatever it is, and so we don't ever get it. We've never met in person, but for 4 or 5 plus years now, we've been having hundreds of movie conversations.
It's been more like 9 years, but who's counting? Let's be real.
I said 5 plus years.
That's plus true. You didn't get the plus in there.
I got plus in there because I was like, how many fucking years has it been? Has it really been that long?
Time goes by very fast when you're not even thinking about it, which is very interesting. Coincidentally, time is a factor here in Movies Down Memory Lane because we are going back to our pasts. So yeah, oftentimes when you get somebody talking passionately about a movie and really digging into it, it can change your perspective on the movie because sometimes you may not see a movie in the same way that somebody is seeing it because they're coming at it from a different perspective or they're digging deeper on it than you or whatever the case may be. And that opinion changed with me several times. We've always had this kind of idea of reappraising of movies. That's happened so many times in the public consciousness where movies from 10, 20, 30, however many years ago get reappraised and now people like it as opposed to when it came out people did not like it. That's happened like recently too. Like
for sure.
It's kind of wild how quick that turns
sometimes
around.
Movies come out ahead of their time. Somebody's thinking on a wavelength that maybe the majority are not, so it doesn't really catch fire, and then many years later they're like, shit. It's just like how everybody brings up Idiocracy. They're like, god damn, Idiocracy got it so right. Like Celebrity being president and things like just like all the The Simpsons does it all the time.
I was just gonna say The Simpsons apparently predicted that like forever ago.
But just but film can always have a way of hopefully making its way back around. And not all these picks that we have are going to be fine art or sometimes they're going to be small family films. Sometimes they'll be maybe stuff that most people don't like, but for some odd reason they're really important to the person that's picked the film. And so for me this week it was my turn. Next week it'll be Andrew's turn. Right. If you didn't see the last episode, Dan was the first one to kick us off, and he did High Noon from 1952. So go back and check that out. But in this one, I decided the first one that kind of popped in my head was I was just thinking about like what did I incessantly watch as a young person, to the point of like my parents hated it by the time it got out of the rotation. Um, and I had to go with School of Rock 2003. You got the physical media? Yeah, there it is.
Steven, where's your copy?
I was looking for it before this and could not find it. It's somewhere
Oh, okay.
in the closet over here, and I don't have an alphabetical order, so it's just in
Could
there.
be anywhere.
Could be anywhere.
Chaos.
Yes. So, but I believe I have that same Blu-ray. And so directed by one of our favorite filmmakers, Richard Linklater, mostly known for doing kind of his own kind of thing, doing these very freewheeling type of conversational romance, coming of age stories, things like that. But then every once in a while, he'll jump into the studio system and do a film like, what was the one he did with Kate Blanchett really recently that nobody liked?
Where did you go, Bernadette?
Yeah, Where Did You Go, Bernadette? Everybody Wants Some is even kind of like, I mean, even though it's like spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, which is definitely like more of an independent film, it's like that's kind of more of a studio movie because it definitely hit the theaters bigger. But this is his biggest example, I think, of him going into the studio system, Paramount, and making something on a high level with a big actor. And it's one of my favorite of his films. School of Rock. I mean, stars Jack Black, stars Joan Cusack, Mike White, who is now famously known for being the creator of White Lotus. And what is it? Sarah Silverman's in the film. Yeah. Before we get into the synopsis, what is your relationship to this film? I guess it should be I'm used to being the host. I'm not used to somebody interviewing me. So maybe I should be letting you drive this a little bit more and ask me questions.
Indeed. So actually, I do want to interview. So obviously, we know that Steven has a close personal tie to this movie. Steven, if I do recall, you've dabbled in musical art on your own, in your own strength, in your own life. So obviously, you have that relationship with this movie. When was the first time you saw this? Did you see this in the theater? Keep in mind, this came out in 2003.
Yeah.
Me at the time, I was probably 16 years old when this came out. Steven, I know you're slightly younger than me, so
yeah, so 14, 15.
Right. So did you see this in the theater, or was this something you saw afterward?
I want to say, I wish I could say I know for sure, but I don't think so. I think this might have been a home video. I know for the longest time I owned the DVD from a Blockbuster, like
Right.
for sure, like the Blockbuster DVD, and that was just, like I said, played just all the damn time. We didn't have YouTube, so we weren't YouTube clipping it and just watching our favorite scenes. No, you pop in a whole fucking movie and you watch the whole movie, and you definitely want to get to the end because the end of this movie is awesome. It is
Indeed.
what you want to play over and over again.
Now we're gonna try not to spoil the movies we talk about on here, but it's kind of tough if you're gonna be, reminiscing about it. It's gonna be kind of tough not to bring up certain scenes, certain moments, certain instances. But for School of Rock, so yeah, that would be kind of similar to my kind of thing as well. As I know I didn't see it in the theater. I probably saw it either. It was either a home rental type of situation, um, or it was like on TV, like maybe like an HBO or some premium cable channel of the time. Maybe even like how you used to be able to rent movies off your TV back. I mean, you could still do it today, actually, but it was kind of a newish thing in the 2000s where you could rent directly from your cable company, like pay-per-view, similar to that type of style. Now it's way more common. So with streaming, you do it all the time. But back then, in the early to mid 2000s, it was kind of a newish thing. But that's kind of my kind of story is kind of similar to that as well. Now, Steven, when did you start? Because like I said, you did do some you were in a band, you did all that kind of stuff. Was that after this, and did this inspire that?
Well, that's what, so, like, I wouldn't say it inspired it. I think even at that age, I was for sure into music, but it wasn't, the band part hadn't come in yet. I was more the sing. I mean, because I'm a singer, so the singing, it really, I wanted to be a front man. So like Jack Black being the center of this film and being the lead singer, like at least of the kid band, really was like appealing to me. So, I was in concert, I was in course in school and stuff. And then when I met my friend Daniel, who was a bass player at the time, but it would eventually get into guitar and stuff, and would be like my writing partner. Yeah, I mean, it definitely, kind of influenced in a way, like my want to be involved in that. And before I continue, here's our friend Dan finally showing up.
There he is.
Oh my God, guys, I apologize. I completely forgot, guys. I am so sorry. I was just sitting there watching wrestling without a care in the world. Without a care in the world, and I wasn't even thinking about. I forgot all about it. It's my apologies.
So now we know which of the friends is the flaky one. Dan's
There's always one in the friends group.
He's always late. He's always fashionably late or something like that.
I'm only 10 minutes late.
It's okay. It's okay. We just roll this on. You missed your fun intro. Other than that, yeah. Well, we can get this going. We can get this going. But Andrew was just asking me about how did this influence my own personal music journey? Because School of Rock, of course, is a movie that especially is a big holder up of rock and roll music, which is what I'm into. And I was telling him, yes, like especially vocally, I was into vocals. I see the Green Day. Yeah.
I wore my Led Zeppelin shirt.
I got my Kung Fury shirt, which had its own fun thing recently drop. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did see that. The sizzle reel to try to get it released.
Yeah. The accidental leak.
Yeah. They tried to Deadpool it.
yeah, they're trying to Deadpool it. It looks amazing. I want to see it, but they literally spoiled the whole movie. So yeah, it definitely gave me visions in my head as a young kid that I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be on stage and be the center of the stage and sing, and people be like, you want that? Yeah, it's you're a kid. You want that, especially being a loner kid.
I was the opposite. Like, I didn't want to be in the center of attention for anything. I didn't like getting up in front of class to do like school project presentations or even reading aloud in class made me nervous.
It was the opposite. It was something I wanted. Was I like in practice doing it? No, I was scared. It reminds me, like how I think about it reminds me of like that of one of my other favorite. This is definitely going to be on this show at some point. Charlie Bartlett. At the beginning, he's like on stage and he like is talking to people and he's like doing the whole speech and he always practices that speech, but there's never ever anybody there until, of course, the movie puts him in the position to be there. And that's how it kind of was for me, is like I would always envision and pretend to be like the rock star on stage. This movie kind of put that in my mind, in a way. So yeah, eventually I got around to being have enough confidence to do that. And now I love doing it. It's not. There's a lot of things, like you said, like presentations, things that I'm not confident in. But as I got more confident as a singer and was like, I would say I'm pretty good at this, like I don't worry about it. I just do it because I love it,
Yeah. And for those of you who have never seen School of Rock before, it's a rather endearing film. Like there's heart in this movie. It's not just Jack Black doing jokes, although his comedic, timing is in there and stuff like that. Was this one of the first Jack Black films you had ever seen? Because this may have been one of my earliest ones from him.
Well, Shallow Hal was.
Although Shallow Hal was about 2 years earlier.
I did see Shallow Hal.
He was in a bunch of like smaller things in the 90s when he was
I would say I definitely saw him in his smaller roles before this, like his small part in Cable Guy. He was in that.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that before this.
Then what was the other film I saw him in? He has a small part in Enemy of the State.
Oh,
that's right. Yeah. He's a
tech guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the tech guy. So he showed up in small parts, but yeah, like starring vehicle. This was probably like the first big one, because I mean, like Shallow Hal, borderline might have been something I watched after this, like being it's more of an adult themed movie. So this probably was like my first real introduction to him.
Yeah, I remember seeing him a couple of years earlier, Saving Silverman. I watched that a lot.
Weird.
Yeah, don't ask me why.
It's an SNL movie, right?
Yeah, the SNL movie. I mean, I'm just looking at his filmography. Yeah, Cable Guy. man, I forget that he is in Dead Man Walking, where he plays like I think he's like the brother of Sean Penn's character. He's in a couple of scenes early on stuff.
Yeah.
But what was the other one that he was in? Oh, he was in Neverending Story 3. He was like the bad guy kid in that.
Jesus.
Early on. I had all those movies on VHS, so of course I had seen them.
But that's the one movie. Never-ending story. It's right there. That's the only one.
Yeah, the sequels are not great. The sequels are not great, nor are they remembered as much as the first film. There's a reason why that first film is still in the lexicon. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, just in terms of like Jack Black, like I forget that he's in that because I remember them playing that movie on TV, and then they'll be like, and they'll be selling it with like Jack Black's name attached to it when he's like not even the star of that movie.
Yeah.
But this is going back forever and ever. So yeah. So what track was I? Oh yeah, just seeing Jack Black. But this was one of kind of his breakoutish type of roles. Like he had been in earlier stuff, like we just mentioned. Like Saving Silverman has the music aspect to it, but he's part of an ensemble on that. You know, it's Jason Biggs. And I forget the other actor in there. Is it Steve Zahn? No, it's some other guy. So had you already been a fan of the music that was used in this? Because the soundtrack in this is kind of incredible.
Yeah,
classic rock throughout. Like they're singing it, they're playing it in the soundtrack. I'm surprised Linklater was able to get the clearance for all of the music in this.
Well, I mean, it is parent. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do this without a big studio,
right?
So, but I remember there's a feature on that disc that shows them begging Led Zeppelin to let them play the Immigrant Song. Like it was, because
that's
Led
the
Zeppelin,
one scene I remember the most.
Yeah,
they're in the van, and they're playing the Immigrant Song,
and Led Zeppelin's famously known up until that point to never let anybody use their music in anything.
Yeah,
and so that's why they had to beg to get him to let it, and it worked. It worked.
Yeah, because if you also remember, what's interesting is we're talking about Richard Linklater is for Dazed and Confused, he had to get clearance for a lot of the famous music that was in that film, and obviously they were using pretty prominent names in there, like Bob Dylan. I think they used a Bob Dylan song, and they used a bunch of stuff in there. Heck, the movie starts with Aerosmith. I mean, literally right off the bat.
There's like Foghat in there. There's
Foghat's in there. They had one time they used what's Ozzy Osbourne? Why am I forgetting it?
Crazy Train.
No, the band.
You talking about Black Sabbath?
Black Sabbath.
You're talking about War Pigs.
War Pigs. Yeah, like at one time, and it's just like playing on the radio in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Richard Linklater, you can always tell he's been a big fan of that era of music. Yeah. Yet again, that 70s era of rock and roll is throughout this. AC/DC was a big influence on the soundtrack as well.
Oh, yeah,
it was like,
I mean, he I mean, he spends a lot of time educating we'll get into the plot a little bit, but,
right.
Dan, what you jump in, Dan, please.
Yeah, well, we're on that part of the show where we are giving our level of what either our familiarity or our love of School of Rock is, correct?
We're not close to the end of this.
No, but like at the beginning, me and Andrew, we need to say where we are before you give your spiel, right?
We didn't do that last time, but I mean,
right now I'm at the point where I'm kind of just asking Stephen what his relationship is with the movie.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Where for example, he's already said how much he loves. He loves
That's
it.
What I want.
This is what
I would say. Before Steven says his level of how much he cares about this movie and all this kind of stuff, I think I want to say this is good stuff. I feel like
you're really that far in it.
I really am. I'm obviously you and I have talked many a times, and Andrew's the same way. We're into the similar kind of music. We're into rock and roll music, and the fact of the matter is, you got this guy who's kind of a schlub, kind of a guy bumming around his buddy's house and stuff, and then he ends up falling into this job of teaching music to kids. And instead of teaching the kind of music, quote unquote, is supposed to teach, he ends up teaching rock and roll music. And it's just like, as rock and roll music fans, you can't help but love the fact that this is a grown adult teaching kids rock and roll. And there's an amazing cameo towards the end. What is it, a 20 something year old movie?
Oh, 22.
So should I give the cameo away towards the end?
It's not necessary to mess that up.
Okay, so I won't spoil the cameo, but there's a great cameo near the end of the movie that's fantastic. It just brings the whole thing together. But something that a lot of people don't know about this movie is I do have a connection to this movie. Mr. Schneebly is a guy by the name...
No. Schneebly.
Schneebly. Mr. Schneebly is played by a guy by the name of Mike
That's just
White.
a joke in the movie, Dan.
Yeah. Well, he's played by a gentleman by the name of Mike White. Yes. Mike White and I have a connection that is known as Survivor. Mike White was on Survivor twice and did very well on Survivor twice. But then he parlayed that celebrity into creating one of the greatest shows of all time. Season 3 just ended about a month ago, and that's called The White Lotus. And I love The White Lotus. Season 3, not as much as season 1 and 2. So that's the full circle of Mr. Schneebly, if you will.
I thought you made it really sound like you guys like had a real connection.
Like you know him personally.
Mr. Schneebly. But this guy turned out to be this massive guy, and he was like this kind of a goofy kind of teacher.
Well, he was more of an actor. Yeah.
But then he disappeared.
It was writing behind the scenes. Yeah.
He disappeared for years, and you didn't see Mike White. Then he shows up on Survivor. Then he's the producer of The White Lotus. And so it's kind of this connection of School Rock that I like about that I have with the movie, despite this fact that it's about music and rock and roll and Jack Black. I mean, how can you not? I mean, there's so many good things about this movie. You can't not like this movie unless you're just a nasty, evil, mean person.
I agree with you, Dan, on that one for sure.
Yeah, Mike White also has a lot of writing credits. If you go onto his IMDb, he wrote, Steve, in connection to you, he wrote 9 episodes of Dawson's Creek. He wrote 3 episodes of Freaks and Geeks. He wrote Orange County, which is another Jack Black film. He also wrote Nacho Libre, which is another Jack Black film as well.
So you have a connection with Jack Black over the years.
Yeah, so obviously a kindred spirit with Jack Black. And then he did... there was a School of Rock TV series.
Oh,
I don't even want to look at it because I know it's going to be terrible.
Awful. Don't even bring that up.
mean, it's not. Yeah, and he apparently, I think he was based on the movie written by him, so he didn't really. I don't know how much involvement he had. In that.
Yeah.
I remember that coming out, and I forgot what it was. Wasn't it like a reality TV show competition type of thing, or
no,
was
it? It was a Nickelodeon.
It was actually narrative.
Show. Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But you're right.
It worth watching.
Yeah, White Lotus is his big thing. But Dan is right. It is a movie that's about, not only about the music, but it's about kind of like sharing the passion and love of music or a specific type of music with a younger generation, which is something that's kind of rather important. That's kind of how these things get passed on. That's why I wanted to kind of, steer it back towards Steven. When you saw this movie as a young person, did you already know who this music was? Had you already been listening to them? And
my dad brought his education of music to me was straight up just what he grew up with, and it was 60s, 70s, 80s, just all rammed up, especially AC/DC, especially Bad Company, Styx. Rush.
That's good stuff.
Just all that stuff was the only thing Foreigner, Leonard Skinner. Yeah, all that stuff.
Leonard Skinner.
All of that.
Yeah, same thing for me. And coincidentally, my father is the same exact way. It was The Doors, Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan. Ironically, he's not a big fan of The Who, but It was played a lot on the radio when I was younger. But all of those 60s, 70s, and into the 80s bands. But keep in mind, when Steven and I were younger, a lot of these bands were still pretty much in their prime. Like I'm talking like now what's considered classic rock was new when we were kids. Like like Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, the whole grunge era was brand new when when I was super young, like
90s.
3, 4, 5 years old. So that was what was playing on the radio as popular music at the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's on the oldies stations.
Yeah, no, I didn't come into this. I knew the Southern rock because, you know, I don't know if we've talked about this, Steve, but we used to do car rides, you know, back when gas was cheap. Parents would just load us in the car. We'll go to out western Massachusetts one Saturday. We'll go to New Hampshire one Saturday. We'll go to Vermont. We'll go to Maine. We'll go to Connecticut. Wherever we go, load the kids in the car, put the radio on. So I got to listen to all kinds of music. But myself personally, I gravitated more towards the British invasion and then the second British invasion. But as the years progressed, I found all of that music little by little by little, you know, and then I progressed into, I think I'm a very well-rounded music fan as far as when it comes to the rock and roll genre. I know and listen to quite a bit of all kinds of genres of rock and roll. So that's why School of Rock means so much to me, because it really is like it's. I was at Welcome to Rockville a couple weekends ago, a 4-day rock and roll festival, and I was kind of spinning it how rock and roll was dying. But when you show up at that festival and the numbers are as large as they ended up being, 250,000 people over a 4-day span. Rock and roll isn't dying. It's gaining popularity. And those classic artists of back in the day, like there was a moment where Lynyrd Skynyrd came on stage with Shinedown and sang Simple Man. You know what I mean? And that was a amazing moment for me because I love Simple Man and I love Shinedown. So put two great things together and you get a great moment, you know? But yeah, this movie is one of those movies that really has so many layers to it. Besides the comedy and Jack Black, there's the music, and then obviously Mike White, and there's so much going on. When you chose to pick School of Rock, Steven, you really picked something that I really liked a lot.
Well, good.
But I want to hear where you're coming from.
Well,
that's why we're here.
Of course, I'm waiting for somebody to really delve into me. God damn it. It sure can't be that. We can't make it that long. But yeah, so where it hits deep with me is that, and especially this comes with reflection. You know, as I've gotten older, watching this movie more and more has caused me to have more reflection on this movie, to see it in different ways. And so I think what you're saying, like Andrew said, like this is about, you know, the love of music and sharing that love of music and stuff. I think on a broader level, on a deeper level, also, like, you know, it's not only about, I mean, obviously there's a punk aspect to this movie. There's a, as he says in the movie, against the man or against the establishment. You know, everywhere in this movie, there's an establishment. There's a certain set of parameters or something that's keeping him from being what he wants to be. You know, these kids are in this school that's this uptight private school. They have roles. They're trying to keep he's trying to do this thing with these kids, but they got to keep it a secret. You know, it's all about being the underground, being in that underground punk. And like that's the punk aspect. And then himself, you know, he's in a band. He's not quite a good fit for this band. I mean, he started the band, but he's like very he's all over the place. He's overly passionate. And the guys he's working with just want to become rich. They just want to be signed so that they can get rich and be famous. He's got real passion for the music. And yes, maybe he's too overly zealous, but he's got real passion for it. And these guys just want to get famous. So they kick him out of the band and now he's on his own. So there's all of these like parameters in this movie where like somebody that really loves this thing is not the one that gets the advancement. And that's how it is in the world a lot of times. People that are just trying to fit in the boxes hit what the the studio system or what they're trying to be what they're looking for are the ones that actually get signed. When you got the real underground people, the real passion, the ones that typically struggle more. That's kind of some of the thing I think is in there. I think that the idea of like letting the passion take care, like if you're passionate about something, and even though people don't understand it, if you keep pushing with that passion, eventually somebody's gonna see it. And by the end of the movie, you do see it. And then along with that, the other thing I think we learn in this film, especially with Jack Black's character, is you might go into something with one idea of what you want to be. He wants to be a rock star, but by the end of it, he finds out that he can still love music, do music, but he's going to do it through a different way. And that's being a teacher.
Right.
You know, he finds a way to still do what he loves, but not the way he thought was the way he would do it. And I think that that's not being attached to your ideals, like not being so set on one, putting all your eggs in one basket and only going for that one thing is not always the way to go. You know, sometimes you got to be open to other possibilities to still be able to do that thing you love, you know, get paid for it, make a living. You know, a lot of people that go into film go in wanting to be filmmakers, wanting to be directors, but then they end up being editors, or they end up being, cinematographers, or they something else in that crew of people that they end up becoming. So you have to be open to that if you want to still be a part of that thing. But there are tons of things in this, and also just as a cultural thing, it's a movie where I think kids can enjoy it immensely, but it's also got adult stuff in it. So it plays into that 90s. I think 90s comedies did that the best. They found that balance. Things like Mrs. Doubtfire, things like Dumb and Dumber, Liar, Liar, Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, them guys figured it out to where you could find this balance. And this movie does that too. Like, I think maybe the best, where it's a movie with kids in it, having fun doing things that with an adult, and like it being like everything, like it being, and they have a fantasy at the end where they get to play and battle the bands and be on stage, and it's a whole big fantasy thing.
I also like how it plays on a lot of kind of like, I wouldn't say children type of stuff going on, but almost, because there are a few moments where Jack Black is instructing the kids, and the kids are very insecure about their abilities musically. They're insecure about how they're going to look doing all this kind of stuff. Yep. And Jack Black has to kind of like get down on their level and kind of really speak to them in ways in which other adults in their lives are not talking to them about. Sure. You know what I mean?
Because we see many examples of the parents kind of like getting, especially the kid that's the guitar player, like really getting on him because he's not like paying attention to work, and he keeps like practicing guitar at home when he's not supposed to be. And
and even even stuff like that, it's really good.
The relationship he had with the principal was really good.
Joan Cusack.
I was just gonna say, Joan Cusack is fascinating. First of all, she's always a delight, and I think everything she does.
Oh yeah.
She's great in it, and what's so great in this is like she had kind of like that same passion for music that Jack Black characters had, but along the way she lost it. Almost like a Peter Pan type scenario.
She's kind of like him. He doesn't want to become her, where he becomes jaded and like loses his like love for music, and like or Schneebly, is the same way. He decides to go for like a working class life, become a substitute teacher, meets Sarah Silverman's character, who's basically controlling his life now.
Yeah.
And just trying to live a normal life, and Dewey's over here trying to make it, and when you're trying to make it in this type of art, it's not pretty. It's not, he's not.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's almost like, it's interesting because this movie is dealing with this kind of these big broad ideas of like, like childhood and adulthood and what those expectations are. Yeah. Like you were saying, Stephen, like the Mike White character is no longer where Jack Black is. He's become an adult. He's got a girlfriend, a job. He's responsible, all this kind of stuff. While the Jack Black character is still trying to figure all of these things out, and he's still trying to strike that balance. And the movie does kind of show you that there is a balance between your your passion you had when you were younger in certain things, and you can be a functioning adult as well.
Exactly.
Like
Well,
the
yeah.
worlds don't have to be different; they can be together.
Yeah, it's you see the mirror images because, like, Jack Black's trying to do this young person thing as he's getting older, and he's still acting, not living an adult life, while the kids are in this institution where they're being treated like adults and not really acting like kids.
They're being molded into being adults already. They're
Already
losing their childhood. Like they're losing all of that stuff.
And
that
Jack
you
Black's
need.
character comes in and flares up their curiosity and their wanting to be kids and have fun and do things, that they didn't even know that they wanted to do.
And so what's funny about this is, have you guys ever seen what these kids look like now that they're adults?
Oh yeah.
There's there's always this thing. Oh, look at this person now from when they were back then, and these kids in this movie, you get a kick out of seeing these kids as adults.
Oh, I've seen the footage. They did a 10-year reunion. Yeah. And now we're past 20 years.
Now they're at 20. We're at 20 years now.
So,
in TV shows and movies, they cast kids in these roles. You don't know how these kids are going to end up in these roles. These kids were fantastic in this movie. The little girl, I forget what her name is. She was funny. I mean, you talk
about iCarly girl.
Is that who that was?
Not Summer from iCarly. She plays the
character. She
turned
out to be iCarly?
Miranda Cosgrove.
Yeah, Miranda Cosgrove, the one that's the band manager.
Yeah, she's like the band manager.
That's her. She turned out to have a good career after that, a bigger career after that.
Yeah.
That's her. I had no clue. I just knew she was a spunky little character in that movie, and I loved her. It's just like you had all these little gems in this movie that little later on, the more you think about it, you're like, wow, this movie turned out to be a bigger impact than it actually would have been at the time, Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a fun movie, and it's funny and everything like that, but it's also got a great message. It's a great message of, not being on a more like my kind of level. You don't need to be a conformist. You don't need to be what everybody else wants you to be. Do the thing that you love. Don't matter what anybody says, but also like don't be scared to try things. Don't be scared to do things. And also, like music is awesome. Like music can bring us together. Like you were saying at the beginning, it's a community. It's about showing the community aspect of what it is to be involved in this.
Yeah. I love that message because we're, even like growing up, there's this fear of being weird or being different, the way you're afraid of like people judging you, especially at the age of where these kids are, that adolescent age. You're afraid of all of those things. This is like kind of like right before their teenage years when all of those emotions are gonna like skyrocket. They're at that like really formative age of like, just starting their journey to adulthood. So like all of this stuff is going to hit them pretty quickly. So to kind of get this base now of like just not giving a shit, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of rather important to teach the young people because, if you can't be yourself, you're going to end up being something you don't like.
You're going to become an adult one day and realize that you're only doing what everybody else told you to do and not what you want to do.
Yeah, and there's so much of that in our society, in our world, especially growing up in our generation. There was so much of that, people telling us, you got to do these certain things because that's just the way everyone else has done it. Certain traditional milestones in life, like you've got to do this, and then you'll be the right way in life. Like these are the right things to do because that's the way things have always been done. Well, that's kind of traditional nonsense BS in my opinion. But so this movie's kind of hitting on, like you said, those things, Stephen, like take chances, be yourself, be unique, listen to the music you love, even if other people don't like it, even if it's old, who cares? It's still good. Quality doesn't have an expiration date, in my opinion, so it's such a great kind of timeless movie. It is. 22 years old now. Yep. It's still going pretty strong.
Yeah, there's a rumor. No, and the thing about this movie that is so amazing, there's a Broadway play right now of the School of Rock on Broadway. That's how much people love this movie is that, they turned it into a get out of here. Damn it, there's a bug right here. Bug flew in here. Get out of here. What the hell? A bug just flew right on my microphone. I'm sorry, guys.
You're good, man.
He has something to say.
Yeah. No, there's a Broadway play.
I love the Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah, exactly. I don't know where that bug came from. I had the front door open. Probably came.
You live in Florida, so they're everywhere
down there.
Yeah. No, there's a Broadway play that's very popular right now, for School of Rock, and that just tells you like things like what was it? Mean Girls, School of Rock. The
thing is, School of Rock is built in, you know.
Yeah, it's already a musical.
No, you're right. It's all built. The music is already built in there to do a Broadway show for it. So, you know, more than likely that will get turned into a remake of the movie.
I don't want to see another School of Rock unless Jack Black's in it.
No, I'm the same way as you are. I'm the same way as you are. They want to keep doing these things over and over again. It's like, come on now,
leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
And Richard Linklater, if Richard Linklater isn't on board to continue it, I don't think it makes sense. Honestly, this is a great one-off movie that should never get sequels.
Yeah.
There's no. I mean, you can do like logistically, there is probably a story they could create to do it.
Sure,
but it's not really necessary. I don't know if people are necessarily clamoring for a sequel.
I don't know what the thematic through line would be to get to, because we already dealt with like what does it mean to be an adult trying to be in music.
Yeah, unless
we already
they
dealt with that all in this one story. You know,
there's some bad stories they could come up with. Like they got to get the band back together for one last ride or something like
how about this?
Like that.
How about this? How about all the kids are adults?
Well, yeah,
and their kids are in school, and
that's the cliche. That's a cliche of
then
like,
they gotta bring in
kids now. You know,
they gotta bring in Jack Black to like help.
They're all the stuck up parents. No, you can't do that with my kids.
It's like Girl Meets World. You know, like they did Girl Meets World. It's like we did Boy Meets World. Let's do Girl Meets World. Now it's Corey and Topanga's kids. Like it's like I don't know. But so I would be happy for this to never get a sequel. It's already bad enough it got a shitty TV show. But yeah, this movie really means a lot. Like it's one I could watch over and over again. Whenever my daughter's at the right age, I will for sure be showing her, you know, this is fun. Does this look fun to you? Do you want to play music? Like, you know, and but I would like to hear everybody's favorite moments. Like some of my favorite moments. Obviously, we said like the end of this movie is amazing, where they finally perform at the Battle of the Bands. But like any small moments in you know, that you love about the movie, any small just little lines.
Near at the beginning, I'm not bad. I don't remember lines very well in movies very often. I'm bad with my memory is not that great. But I just remember when somebody wasn't doing something right in the classroom, or one of the guys was, and he was just like, "You got to do it this way." He's like, and it's got to do, you know, I don't remember what that scene was, but that was
there's I could recite all of them for you if you need me. but there's like different scenes like that where there's like, you know, well, for instance, there's like when he's first meeting all the kids and he's like, one kid's like Freddie Jones, the drummer in the back's saying something smart, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" He's like, "Freddie Jones." "Oh, Freddie Jones. Shut up." You know, like just stuff like that. You know, like, you know, just but then, you know, like where he's you know, for the first time the principal comes to visit the class while he's supposed to be teaching, and then he like pulls the guitar out because it's there and he has to do something with it. And so then he starts trying to like teach with the guitar. He's like, "It's my own method, you know. Math is a really cool thing. So get off your ass. Let's do some math. Math. 3 minus 4 is," and then he just starts going around, you know, stuff like that. You know, there's just so many great moments like that. He goes to the bar with Joan Cusack and does that
was gonna be mine.
Yeah.
When the jukebox is playing, I want to say, Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, like Fleetwood Mac.
It's
and
like the wide wing bird.
Yeah, he's trying to convince her, like, take the kids on a field trip.
Well, which is the Battle of the Bands.
Which is the Battle of the Bands.
Which is my other real favorite moment when they can't get into the Battle of the Bands and then they have to pretend to be all dying from terminal diseases. Kids. He's like, and he's just like convinced. He's like, what do they all have? And he's like, stick it to demoniosis.
Stick it to demoniosis. You just make me want to go watch this movie again.
They're all terminal, every last one of them. And they're just all like laying on the ground. One's laying on the ground in the street, just laying on the ground, just dead, basically. But yeah, there's just so many great fun moments. You know, the kids, you know, basically hijack a school bus to pick him up near the end. You know, he's like, he looks at him out there and he's like, that's so punk rock. You know, like, just so many great moments like that. Lawrence, when Lawrence, like you said, there's a scene where Lawrence comes to him at the cafeteria and he's like, I'm just not cool enough to do this. I'm not cool enough to be in a band. And he's like, of course you will. You'd be the bee's knees, you know, whatever. And he's like, let me see your hand. Let's rock today. And he does that whole thing, you know, just the whole handshake. Just so many great stuff. You know, I'm sure Richard Linklater wrote a lot of this, but I bet you a lot of this was Jack Black ad-libs, you know, just being himself, doing his thing.
And if there was another remake, it would have to be the same people involved. Jack Black, Richard Linklater, Mike White, those guys would have to be involved.
They would have to come back for sure. But Linklater did work with Jack Black again. What was the movie he did? Bernie? Was it called Bernie?
Oh, Bernie. Oh my God. The Music Man guys. Oh my God. I know you guys are a fan of the Music Man. You've got to see Bernie if you're a fan of the Music Man. Wow. Yeah. They were amazing. That movie's amazing. Amazing.
But of course, I'm on the feelometer as being very high on this. I'm at the obsessed. So now that I've gushed about this movie a lot, is anything changed for you guys? You guys still at good stuff? I'm not offended if you.
No, I'm obsessed by this movie. I wanted to just come in as good stuff because I don't want to be too high on it right off the bat. But I am absolutely obsessed.
You're in love with this movie now?
Yeah, no, I was in love with it before, but I didn't want to give away my hand at the time. I when you're like, oh great, he's picking something good that I like. So I was like, okay. And then the more we talk about it, the more, you know, it's like I want a sequel now because I want to see where these kids go, where their stories go.
Sometimes you have to, when you love something, you have to let it go.
Huh?
Sometimes when you love something, you have to let it go.
Yeah, I know. This is a good pick. This is a good pick, Steven. And with me just having recently experienced Walking the Rockville and everything, I kind of want to rewatch School of Rock again just because.
Well, good.
Great.
That's the hope for this show too. Is not only you know, we get to reminisce and we get to have fun and talk about something we love, but if anybody's watching and they love it, then they can get infectious about it, and then maybe somebody hadn't seen this in so long and almost forgotten about it. And we're like, bring it back. We bring up that we foster the flame. You know, you get the flame going again, and somebody's like, I gotta go watch this. I haven't watched this in years. So yeah, I mean, any last words for you, Andrew?
No, I'm up on the obsessed level as well.
Awesome.
I think I've been obsessed with this movie ever since I first saw it when I was a kid. Because at that time, we talked so much about the music. No one I knew liked that music. Like I was the only one.
Really?
That I knew amongst my peers.
What were they listening to up there?
Well, keep in mind this movie came out in 2003, so I was probably, like I said, 16, 17-ish years old. Everybody that I went to school with would be listening to whatever was popular at the time.
NSYNC.
Whatever was popular at the time. I couldn't
Boys.
even tell you.
That's
a little earlier, but kind of around that era.
That was the back end of grunge.
You didn't see a lot of kids, at least that I knew.
Alien Ant Farm.
Yep,
yeah, that was a big one.
That's exactly
There weren't a lot of kids listening to Led Zeppelin that I went to school with, or listening to, you know, AC/DC or anything like that.
Give the cameo away, so we don't say the name of the band. We don't want to say the name of the band because we don't want to give the cameo.
I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying there weren't a lot of kids at that time listening to the music that was in this movie, so I felt kind of somewhat vindicated to hear it on screen. And so I was, at the time, I was like, this movie's amazing. Yeah. And like, I didn't care about the plot. I just cared like, oh my goodness, this is all the music I like. This is amazing.
And to be honest, you know, it's funny, like the band that, what's the name of for some reason I'm blanking the name of the band.
Oh,
Oh, Crucifixorious.
Is that the name of the band that Jack Black was kicked out of at the beginning?
I think that's the name of the band he was kicked out of.
What was the band they called? What was the name of the band they formed in school?
Was it Crucifixorious?
School of Rock.
The School of Rock. Duh. I'm
dumb.
I'm dumb.
You're not obsessed with this movie, Dan.
Yeah, I am, but I'm just my brain wasn't working right then.
Was that the name? I may have just made. I know I didn't make that up, but I don't even think it says it.
No, I relate more to the Jack Black character because I was in my mid-20s at this time, and I was kind of going nowhere, coaching football, basketball, being involved with being in school. I was actually working for a school at this time, and it's just like I was kind of in a way the Jack Black, like going nowhere in my life, and that's why I kind of related more to him more so than the I wasn't a little kid watching this,
Sure. Well, I think for to final words on this, I think for people like us that have passions in the arts or in the, you could say like, as collectors, as writers, as people that do things that are in the arts, it's typically looked as an outsider thing, being an artist. You have to convince people that it's worth your time to do, and so, I think that this movie is an ode to people that follow their passions more than their brain necessarily. So I think that that's something that Linklater does a lot in his films, and I think that through Jack Black, it's turned up to 11 because Jack Black doesn't know how to do anything other than be over the top in himself. In a movie like this, it's to me the most encapsulating of who Jack Black is in real life is this movie.
I would say because he ends up going on to form Tenacious D after that, and it's just like it really is who he is, in a way.
I feel like it is.
Yeah, I agree. What were you gonna say, Andrew?
Well, the band that he was kicked out of at the beginning of the movie is called No Vacancy.
No Vacancy, yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's the name of the band.
And to be honest, I was gonna say, to be honest, not too bad. They're not like when they sing at the end and they're in the Battle of the Bands. The song, it's like pretty standard, but it's like, hear me, I'm heart sick, I'm hungry, I can feel that. It's kind of catchy. I'm like, that's kind of good, but nothing beats what they do, at the end with the School of Rock song,
Yeah.
Baby, we were making straight A's.
Yeah.
Oh, we were stuck in the dumb days. See, I can do the whole song, man.
Yeah. But and that's so funny. This guy turned out to be this amazing actor and singer and all this stuff. And his parents were like astrophysicists, like and stuff like that. Like they were like geniuses. Yeah. And this is what this guy turned out.
Well, he went to like a big school too. I think didn't he go to like one of the big art schools to train to acting? Similarly,
Jack Black.
Yeah, I believe no. It was similar to like Robin Williams or something. Like it was one of them.
Oh, Juilliard.
It might have been like Juilliard or something. I think.
Yeah, because Christopher Reeve and Robin Williams met at Juilliard.
Yeah. He might. I believe so. I could be wrong, but I think he went to school. Like, is like classically trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Andrew's going to make sure I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He attended. He later attended University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, but dropped out during his second year to pursue a career in entertainment.
Oh. Yeah. I guess he didn't really use it then.
The dropout.
He was like, "Fuck this! I got this myself." But I love this film. We all love this film, apparently. So, if anybody hasn't seen this film, please go visit it. Go. It's on Paramount Plus. You can watch it there if you have that. So it's easy to access, and it's probably available to rent almost anywhere, YouTube, whatever. But that is it for this Movies Down Memory Lane. Andrew, do you have a pick? You're next. Do you have a pick? I do not
have a pick yet. I do not have a pick yet.
So from now on, let's make sure that the next person in line already knows what they're going to do.
Okay.
Because I'd like to go ahead and tease it for the end of the episode so we can let people know. So because this is an every other week show, so might as well keep it fresh. So Dan, start thinking about your next one. I'm going to already have my next one lined up. And just, we can keep the train moving. So, but watch social media. We'll post what the Andrew's pick is soon. He'll let me know. And so 2 Saturdays from now, this will be on again live. And please come in, comment, join the conversation. Tell us why you love or not love the movie that we're talking about. So, but that is it for this Movies Down Memory Lane. And hey, follow the road of least resistance. I don't know. I still don't have a.
Keep watching them movies. That's your stick. Come on, I want to hear it.
Oh, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.
There we go. I love it.